Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's Foundation Matters webinar. I'm Sandra Hempstead, Chair of the Foundation Regional Action Plan for Zones 33 and 34, and I'll host tonight's event, along with my colleague, Karen Pinder, who will moderate the Q&A segment of our webinar. Tonight is all about district grants. First, allow me to introduce our guest speakers for the webinar. It's my pleasure to introduce someone who is new to many of our Foundation Matters participants, but whose Rotary experience brings practical, people-centered perspective to our work with the Rotary Foundation. Vicki Pulis is in 1992 as the first woman in her club and spent decades helping Rotarians turn good ideas into meaningful, sustainable service through leadership development, youth programs, and peace initiatives. She believes Rotary is a leadership organization that delivers service and that district grants play a critical role in engaging members, responding to local needs, and building confidence to take on larger projects. To help us understand district grants from start to finish, we also have three leaders who support clubs at every step of the process. Kim Schwartz is a grants officer with the Rotary Foundation, joining us all the way from Australia, and will enjoy his Australian accent, I'm sure. He will be sharing guidance from the Rotary Foundation's perspective. Stephen Beer, our own Assistant Regional Rotary Foundation Coordinator from Zone 33, will walk us through 5 practical steps to building a successful district grant. And Mike Mudd, Foundation Grants Coordinator for District 6900 in Georgia, will bring it all to life by sharing real-world successful examples of district grants. Together, they'll help us move from concept to confidence and from planning to impact through district grants. Now, district grants are often where Rotary ideas first come to life. And to help us set the tone for today's Foundation Matters webinar, we've asked Trustee Vicki Pulis to share her perspective on their power and potential. So Vicki, the floor is yours.
All right. Hello, Rotary family and friends. I hope you're all doing well. It is such a pleasure to be with you this evening as we discuss district grants and ways to engage club members in our Rotary Foundation. And before we start, let's take just a moment to appreciate each of you and your role at your club to invite our members to better understand our Rotary Foundation and to invite our members to take an active part in Rotary Foundation activities as one of the benefits of being part of Rotary. I'm specifically going to address club presidents and presidents-elect because you have a unique ability to set the tone in your club and you're a role model. And so I want to thank each and every one of you for demonstrating leadership in making your own contribution to our Rotary Foundation and for your care in recognizing others who contribute to our Rotary Foundation in a meaningful and personal way. And I know that we have a large number of also club foundation chairs with us, and I'd like to thank you as well. You have a significant ability to influence our club members, and so thank you as well for your efforts and for your commitment. In order to capture the heart and enthusiasm of our members, it's helpful to engage members with stories of how contributions to our Rotary Foundation are changing lives and improving communities. And so I am in Orlando at the International Assembly at this time, and storytelling was actually the focus of all of our sessions today at International Assembly. I'm proud to tell you that incoming Rotary International Director Marshall Butler did a fantastic job of his time on the big stage. He shared a story about how his own father suffered the effects of polio when he was a child and what that meant during his life. And also he shared the Rotary Revolution rap video that I'm sure most of you have seen, and it was a big hit at International Assembly today. You know, the approach of start with why is internationally known due to Simon Sinek, clarifying that people join us not because of what we do or how we do it. They join us when our efforts align with their own personal values and purpose. And so when talking about our Rotary Foundation to our members, it makes sense not just to talk about the money, but to start with what the money does and how that connects each of us to a higher purpose or to a purpose that we can achieve best when we work together. I think district grants are a particularly good way to connect our members to the benefits of our Rotary Foundation because they are often used to support local community projects. District grants have an easy entry point so that every one of our clubs can participate and benefit from a district grant. And a district grant is a simple way to show our members how money they contribute to the Rotary Foundation comes back 3 years later to support efforts they are passionate about. An example from my own experience is when a friend of mine, Joe, and I decided to create a leadership program for 8th grade students based on requests we had from school administrators who worked with us during our time at RILA, Rotary Youth Leadership Awards. So RILA in my region, I'm from the West Coast or the western part of the United States, is for high school juniors. Well, the school principals reached out to us and asked us to consider putting together a program for middle school students. They loved RILA. They loved how the students came back and received this as a life-changing experience. But they told us that middle school students, 12 and 13-year-olds, were actually making very big decisions in their lives about drugs, about gangs, about sex, and other really important topics before they got to high school, before they had a chance to participate in RILA. They also reported that they had students who were really strong leaders, but these students didn't have the advantage of an ethical leadership framework or model or the skills that we help develop with the older students who went to our RILA program and might not be using their leadership skills in a positive way. So Joe and I went to work and we were ready to implement a leadership program over a long weekend for 3 middle schools in our city. But we needed the financial backing to be able to provide the venue and the meals and the materials for this first cohort of students. So we went to our Rotary Club board and we asked for support, along with the idea that a district grant could help us with this initial funding. And that's how the Rotary 8th grade leadership program in Rotary District 5190 began, with 3 schools and a total of 30 students aged 12 and 13. The program continues to this day and it's evolved significantly over the 10 plus years, where we now have 3 sessions of 80 students each, or about 240 students a year go through the 8th grade leadership program. So members of my club are passionate about being involved in serving youth in our community, and they are so proud of their role in starting this important program and their contributions to the Rotary Foundation that help make it possible along with their own contributions. District grants can be used in so many ways. It doesn't have to start a new program. A district grant could help your members with something they're already engaged with that just might need some additional support. Or it's possible that clubs can pool district grants together and accomplish something that's even larger than what any one of them could do separately. District grants are extremely flexible and easy to tailor to what is most important to your club members. And you have the additional advantage of a district grant project being completed typically within 1 year. So you have quick, positive results to share with your club members. So I urge you to take advantage of this easy way to connect your members and why they contribute to the Rotary Foundation with district grants, and invite participation to overcome that objection that I'm sure many of you have heard, that our foundation money only goes somewhere else. So put that foundation money to work in your own community using a district grant, and be sure and thank your members for their generosity and their participation to make this positive difference and do good with our Rotary Foundation. I truly appreciate your time and being here today to learn more about district grants and to connect with the others on the call. My very best wishes to each of you. And at this point, I'll turn the meeting over to Kim.
Thanks, Vicky, and greetings from Sydney, Australia. G'day, good morning. It's Friday morning here in Australia, and it's lovely to be with you today. As I saw people put on the chat where they're from, I noticed that we have someone from Australia and also someone from the Philippines here. So it's great to be a global community. So I'm the grants officer based in Sydney. I look after 108 districts globally, including districts in the US, Australia, New Zealand, the Philippines, and the UK. Um, so today I'm just going to briefly talk to you about the district grants terms and conditions. I'm going to highlight parts of it for you, but if you've got any questions about your district grant projects, you can download the terms and conditions and have a look at sections 1 and sections 2. They're the main sections to be looking at, just to decide whether your projects do meet the terms and conditions. So next slide, please. So as you're probably aware, district grants, and as Vicky said, they're aimed for delivering small, short-term projects. And Vicky gave us a great example of how they can be used to build into larger projects, to try something new and different in your area. District grant projects can be local, and most of them are, but they can also support activities internationally. For those of you who are not aware, when you as a club apply for a district grant, your district foundation chair committee has a look at all of those applications and puts them together as a one single block grant that is awarded annually for each district. Next slide, please. So when it comes to district grant activities, there are a few things that you need to make sure you do when it comes to your activities. With district grant activities, you need to make sure that they align with the foundation's mission. Now, that mission is very, very broad. So there's very few things that are ineligible when it comes to district grant activities, and I'll talk about some of those ineligible things in a moment. But broadly, you can do a very large number of things with your district grants. The Rotary Foundation is there to be able to fund activities for Rotarians. So this money is there for you to do your projects, for you as Rotarians to be doing things in your local community to be making a difference. So it's important that there is a local, or as there is Rotary involvement in the activities that you're doing. And finally, you must meet the terms and conditions for district grants. Next slide, please. But there are a few things that district grant funds can't be used for. And it's my role just to double check that the activities that put into district grants are for those activities that are eligible. So one of the things that I often get is clubs that would like to give a donation to another organisation. As I said earlier, foundation funds are there for clubs to run their projects. Foundation funds are not there just to give a donation, say, to the Red Cross. The Red Cross is a fantastic organisation, but you as Rotarians have done a lot of hard work to raise money for Rotary projects. Your hard work in raising money is not there so you can just give cash or donations away to other organisations. So I'm very aware that when the description of your project says something like, we want to fund or we want to support something, that raises a red flag with me. So make sure that your projects are your projects that you are doing to make an impact in your community. Overt religious activities are also cannot be funded through grant funds. So you can't bias your activities towards any particular religious group. So just keep that in mind as you're doing your activities. And the same comes to military assistance. For example, you can't do a project that is specifically, say, for those in the Army or the Navy. You could run a project that provide assistance for the families of those in the military, because that's broad enough. But when you're doing a project that's specifically focused on helping those in the military, that's something that the foundation will not fund. We love it when clubs do events, and we love it when clubs buy things so they can help their local communities. But those events and those items can't be funded through foundation funds. Foundation funds are there to be used to benefit people outside of Rotary. So, for example, we've had a couple of projects where the club would like to buy something so that they can rent it out to the community and make a benefit to the community that way. But that item is actually owned by the club. So in that case, what we do is encourage the clubs to actually buy the item and then donate it. That's okay. But the club cannot benefit from district grant funds. The operating expenses of other organisations are also not eligible for funding. So you can't pay the salaries of somebody or the business expenses of another organisation. So it's very close to a donation for another organisation. But as I said, district grant funds are there for you, for your club, to run your projects to benefit the community. They're not there for you to pass on to another organisation for them to run their projects. That said, for many clubs, they don't necessarily have the skills or expertise to run parts of their project. For example, you may want to run a project to provide mental health services for disadvantaged youth in your community. A fantastic project, but your club may not have any counsellors or psychologists in the club that can actually provide that counselling. In this case, you would partner with a cooperating organisation, a third-party organisation, to provide the mental health services of your project. It's still your project, but you're just asking, in a sense, a consultant, another organisation that has a specific set of skills to help you deliver the project. In that case, you can give the money to the external organisation for the services that they're providing as part of your project. And finally, district grant funds cannot be used for fundraising. That's fundraising for you as a Rotary Club or for fundraising activities for another organisation. Next slide, please. Just as a quick aside, if you are running a very large project that you want to submit for a district grant, just be aware that you may get asked for additional information, so we can double check that all the subparts of your project do align with the Rotary Foundation terms and conditions. So we may ask for additional documentation and itemising of the purchases. Next slide, please. So when you've finished your activity, please remember to keep the original receipts and submit those to the district. We want to know what you've done as part of your project, so please make sure that you do submit the reports. And when you're writing your narrative reports, don't just tell us what you've done. We'd love to hear the impact of the project. An expense report's really important so we can double check that you've actually spent on what you said you were going to send. And each district has a different way of storing this information, but we do encourage districts to have a central repository to store this information. Next slide, please. And finally, sometimes you will find that your activity, that your project doesn't happen for a variety of reasons, and that's okay. Or it might be that the project came in under budget. In those cases, you don't get to keep the money. That money does need to be returned to the district, and the district can then choose to reallocate that to another club or even a different project within the district. So you don't get to keep the unused funds. We want those to return to the district so that they can be used to benefit other people within the district. So as I said, if you've got any questions about the terms and conditions, just have a read through them. They're not hard to read, but also then talk to your DRFC or DGSC. And if they've got any questions, they can ask someone like me. I'm now going to hand over to Mike, who's going to talk to you. Thanks, Mike.
Excuse me. Hello. This is Mike Mudd, District 6900. Thank you, Kim, for the segue. I want to also thank our RI trustee, Vicki, for sharing the information about her club's district grant that's benefiting middle school leadership in her community in Nevada. If possible, can you advance my slide? In District 60, to the next one, please. District 6900 is where I'm located. We stretch from the north end of our district is Atlanta, Georgia, and the south end is the state of Florida. So we cover pretty much all of western Georgia. The things that we focus on or discuss with our clubs is the project, as Kim said, has to be in one of the 7 areas of focus. We require clubs to describe what problem they're trying to solve or the purpose of the grant, provide details about what will be accomplished, including a budget, estimate the number of beneficiaries. One of the things we focus on is the amount of Rotarian involvement, actual time involved, and then last thing, we put a lot of emphasis on the public image. So with that, we could advance to the next slide. I'm going to just give you a quick overview of 5 district grants here in District 6900. The first one is the Giving Side of Christmas. This is done by a club, a Category 1 club in Metro Atlanta. The purpose of this project is to provide a Santa store for children who are legal wards of their grandparents so that the children, can buy and give Christmas gifts to their grandparents. The basic details of this project is the students are identified. They hold an event at a local senior service center, and each child is assigned a shopper. And they're also given Rotary bucks, $1 per gift that they have on their list, perhaps for 2 grandparents. And then once they've selected their gift, they wrap their gift and pay for it with their Rotary buck. And then they get a photograph with Santa Claus, and they visit with finish with a lunch of pizza. So the impact of this project is pretty straightforward. It teaches children who are being raised by their grandparents the joy of giving Christmas gifts to their grandparents. This project benefits 75 students and involves over 100 Rotary service hours. And the main source of public image on this particular grant activity was the local newspaper. The second grant I want to talk about is the Wraparound Care Closet. This is with one of our Category 1 clubs in West Georgia. And CARE stands for Community Access to Resources and Education. So the purpose of this project is to provide school-based services to reduce barriers for students to actually attend. The goal being to increase student outcome. The problem that was identified here is that there's a good number of students in this school district that come from low-income families. And many times they will not attend class because they don't have adequate nutrition, school supplies, hygiene items, clean clothing, etc. So this county has 6 schools, all are Title I. 33% of the students live in poverty, and the school system is through Rotary is providing these types of services at the school level. The impact is to me, it's hard to believe this, but they serve 5,000 students, 5,000 individual services, not necessarily 5,000 students, but individual services. It involves over 350 Rotary man hours per year. The third one, growing pre-K gardens. This is being done by one of our clubs in South Georgia. The purpose of this project is to help pre-K students with healthy food choices and also literacy. In this community, over 37% of the community is in poverty. And of course, this poverty contributes to the lack of both healthy foods and access to books. So Rotarians, in collaboration with 2 other local community groups, provide soil and seeds to actually plant a vegetable garden for these little 5-year-old pre-K students. Many times it's the first time these students have seen food growing. Each student is provided with an appropriate book concerning healthy eating. This impacts 250 children in that community with both a book and how vegetables are grown. They publicize this grant, this activity in their local newspaper, and each book that the children are given has a label inside indicating it was given to them by a Rotarian. As said earlier, this benefits 250 children and requires about 35 Rotary man hours. The fourth one, backpacks for the homeless veterans. This is done by a club in West Georgia again. They provide homeless veterans with a quality tactical backpack full of basic necessities. The problem here is they had identified that when homeless veterans show up for seeking housing assistance, most of the time they have little or no personal effects. This project will provide 40 backpacks. They'll be full of snacks, linens, personal hygiene products, etc. The volunteers in the Rotary Club, of course, source all of the materials, the backpacks and all the supplies. They pack the bags. They deliver them to a local nonprofit that was started by a member of their club, a Rotarian. And the purpose of that nonprofit is to provide residential assistance to veterans. The public image for this grant, each backpack is embroidered with the Rotary logo. And there's information in the backpack about who actually packed the bag, like a personal letter. The project is also included in the club's social media, and news releases are sent to the local news outlets. Again, 40 beneficiaries, about 100 Rotary man hours. The fifth one I have here is essential housing stability kits. This is done by a club here in Metro Atlanta. The need they identified there are too many single mothers with children in their community that are either homeless or in danger of becoming homeless. The essential housing kit includes hygiene products, baby essentials, cleaning supplies, and other household supplies. The idea is when a family that's vulnerable has a housing vulnerability, when they have a new place to move into, they don't have to go and purchase these items. The grant covers the cost of 25 kits. All the members of this club participate in some capacity. The tasks include researching the cost of the items and figuring out where to buy them, acquiring the items, packing the kits, delivering the kits to a local nonprofit, and then ultimately distributing the kits to qualified families. The public image for this grant, photos are taken and posted on various social media sites, and the club is proud that this shows to the community their leadership in helping mothers and children find secured housing. This benefits 25 families and requires 75 volunteer hours. So with that, I'd like to introduce Stephen Beer.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, next slide, please. Next, I'm going to talk about 5 easy steps to plan and create a Rotary District grant. Step 1, identify a real community need, not just a good idea. You're not just doing a project to make your members feel good. You want to complete a project that truly has a positive impact on your community. A quick needs assessment will eliminate 90% of future grant problems. First, talk to your community leaders and partner organizations. That might include local government officials, nonprofits, schools, and other local leaders. They have a pulse on your community's needs and have already completed a community needs assessment with data and other information. They can share with you their observations from on the ground. Make sure your project clearly identifies and addresses the need. If it does not, go back to the drawing board and make sure to show how your project fits with one of Rotary's 7 areas of focus. Next slide, please. Build a strong partnership. Secure a partnership early with your collaborating organization. Have a letter of understanding or an email confirming the partnership. Make sure you both agree on the roles for each party. Who will be responsible for training? Who will maintain the equipment? Who will be responsible for publicity? What are the deadlines? What will each party provide? Make sure you clearly define what your club's responsibilities will be for the project. Next slide. Create a clean budget with only eligible expenses. Do not include ongoing expenses for the project. For example, if your project is helping the local food pantry to increase its capacity, then food purchases to stock the food pantry after the project is completed are not eligible for grant funds. Obtain documents with formal price quotes or invoices. List all the expense items with dollar amounts. Add up the numbers. They should match exactly with the grant application. Common budget problems are poor arithmetic and undocumented expenses. Try to keep your budget simple and realistic. Next slide, please. Assign responsibilities and create a timeline. One of the most common mistakes clubs make is to underestimate how much time is needed to plan, coordinate, and implement the project. You should name a project leader and assign someone to be responsible for all the finances. The team should establish a plan with a clear timeline with lists of tasks, club responsibilities, partner responsibilities, and reporting deadlines. Who will be responsible for each task? How will parties coordinate with each other? Make sure your timeline starts after the project is approved. Money spent before the grant is approved is not eligible for reimbursement. Make sure your club can complete the project before the end of the Rotary year. And next slide, please. Implement, document, and report. Poor documentation can cause delays in reimbursements and future grant project eligibility. A best practice is to gather receipts and other documents on an ongoing basis during project implementation. Don't wait until the end to gather all the documents when it's time to report. You risk losing important paperwork. Make sure all your receipts are organized and readable. Take action pictures of Rotarians implementing the project, including the best shots in your publicity stories. Pictures of grant ceremonies at club meetings and group shots after the work is done are not ideal action pictures for your public story. Make sure to include your pictures with your grant documentation to the district. Make sure you follow the project's plan approved by your district. Don't change vendors or budgets or the project scope without prior approval from your district and the Rotary Foundation. Collaboration with your district's grants team is vital if circumstances necessitate a change. And lastly, complete the final report on time so your club stays eligible for another grant next year. And now I'll turn it over to Karen for questions and answers.
Good evening, everyone. I first want to thank our Rotary Foundation trustee, Vicky, for opening up tonight's session with some very moving comments and a very inspirational story. And then secondly, thanks to our panelists, Mike, Stephen, and Kim, for your very insightful presentations. We've generated quite a few questions in the box. So if you have another question or you haven't put a question yet in the Q&A box, please feel free to do so. We'll kick it off with a question for Kim. Are projects for military veterans eligible for district grant funding?
Broadly, yes. It will depend on the project, but the restriction on military assistance is really there to stop foundation funds being used to support military activities. So we don't want Rotary buying guns for a militia or something like that. But providing backpacks for military veterans is a fantastic project. So broadly, yes, but the devil is always in the detail.
Okay, thank you. And speaking of details, we have a couple more detail-oriented questions for you, Kim. The first one is, do districts need to set up a new bank account each year for each different grant?
Well, that's a complicated answer to an extent. For global grants, the answer is yes, each global grant needs to have a dedicated bank account. But since we're talking about district grants, the answer is no. You can use last year's bank account for this year's foundation funds. Just as a district, be aware to make sure that foundation funds are kept separate from district funds. So you don't want to commingle governor allowances and those sort of things with foundation funds. But as you've got a specific bank account for district grants, it will have a lot of money when the district grant starts, and then it'll dwindle over the year as you hand out the money to clubs. And at the end of the year, it'll have almost nothing left. And then it'll get topped up the next year with the new grant. You just need to remember to change the signatories as appropriate.
Great. Thank you for that clarification. The next detail-oriented question is, you mentioned that the district should set up a repository for all of the reports, but how long must the districts keep these reports? Is there a time threshold?
Yeah, so Section 8.f of the Terms and Conditions says that you need to keep them for 5 years or as applicable by local law.
Okay, great. Now let's go to Mike. One question for you is, can the project be international or does it need to be local?
We have allowed international projects, but it's rarely do we get the request, and almost all of ours are local every year.
Okay, thank you. Now let's go to Stephen. Here's a scenario for you. Over the years, the Rotary Foundation has implemented more stringent requirements for its district and global grant projects. How has this affected our ability to serve our communities?
I think that it increases our ability to serve the communities because the additional requirements help the projects become more sustainable and long-lasting.
Excellent, thank you. And back to you, Kim. Can district designated funds be used to match funds from a Rotary Club foundation or a third-party foundation?
There's no sense of matching with district grant funds. The amount that a district has available for their district grant each year is based on how much DDF they have for the year. So 50% of their available DDF can be used for district grant activities. In
Okay,
terms of matching, that's really a district by district consideration. So some districts have requirements that clubs match the district grant funds that they receive. So the club has to provide 50% of the project cost, and the district, through the district grant, provides the other 50%. So that's a district by district consideration, but the sense of if the club gets money from an external organisation, there is no sense of matching with district grants. I hope that answers the question.
yes, thank you so much. Mike, for you, you had mentioned when you spoke of one of your projects that was funded by a district grant that there was I think it was a category 1 that you referred to. Can you explain to those of us who are not familiar what that means?
Category 1 is just referencing the size of the club. In our district, clubs under 30 members are category 1. We have 5 different categories.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. Those of you who've asked about whether the slide deck will be available after the call, yes, it is available on the Zones 33-34 website, and the details are in the chat. So, Stephen, let's go back to you for another question. Do you think it's a good idea for clubs to invite prospective members to participate in a district grant project?
I think it's a fantastic idea. We want people to join Rotary who are interested in doing service, and what an excellent way to get people involved in the community and show our best foot forward when we're doing a service project is with a district grant.
Excellent. And I want to thank each of you for your participation this evening and for your insightful answers. I'll now turn it back over to Sandra.
Thank you very much, everyone, to all of our guest speakers. You really made some great presentations and some great comments to help each of our clubs turn their ideas into a confident plan for a successful district grant. So thank you very much. I'd like for each of you to now mark your calendar to join us for our next Foundation Matters webinar. It's on February 19th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We're calling in the nerds to explore how Foundation reports can help us track club progress towards our goals. We'll share the recording soon in the slides, and they will be on the Rotary International Zones 33-34 website. You will receive an email with a link to the website. But if you're anxious to get there and you don't have the link in front of you, just go to the Zone website, and it's under Foundation Matters. Have a wonderful evening, everyone, and thank you again for all you do for Rotary to make the good work of Rotary possible. You're amazing, and we truly appreciate you being here for the webinar. Thank you, and have a good evening. This concludes our webinar tonight.